Welcome to the DefXFiles material storage review number 2. We're going to get this stuff started because we don't have much time and we have a busy week.
The particle accelerator altered the weight of one electron and therefore destroyed our universe and shifted us into the universe that's directly next to it. There's a fluctuation in our reality of actually things that are real to us but are different in other realities. It is a consistent fluctuation, and I think this fluctuation is known as Mandela effect.
This was happening in 2016. Shortly after this video went viral, the genius kid disappeared. No updates, no interviews, nothing. For years, the internet searched for answers. What happened to Max Lowen, the kid who said CERN broke reality? What you're about to hear next will change how you see everything. Just keep in mind, in 2008, CERN launched the Large Hadron Collider, and in 2009, people started noticing something strange. Memories that didn't match reality.
What happened was we made this universe sort of out of balance, and our universe...
Because of the collider, the super collider?
Yeah, we altered the weight of a single electron, which I believe shifted us into a parallel universe. This is our original timeline, right? But as soon as this starts, we are infinitely catapulted into an infinite number of parallel universes.
In 2008, scientists at CERN launched the Large Hadron Collider, the most powerful particle accelerator ever built. It smashes atoms together at almost the speed of light, searching for the fundamental code of the universe. Some physicists even warned it could open microscopic black holes or distort space-time itself. And then, barely a year later, something even stranger happened. Thousands of people began remembering Nelson Mandela, dying in prison in the 1980s, but he actually died in 2013. Entire groups shared the same false memory. Soon after, a large segment of the population started noticing the same thing. Logos, movie lines, and even historical events remembered differently than they actually were. Guys, every time I work on a video like this, I get chills. The next part might break your sense of reality, but before we get there, let me tell you something that might change your future. We all know that AI is reshaping the job market rapidly. Nearly half of workers worldwide fear unemployment due to AI and technology. Customer service, marketing, software, finance, no industry is untouched. But the real issue is that people are still living in a bubble. They still think they won't get affected until it hits them like a truck. But I want you to make a smart choice this Black Friday. While most people are spending on things that lose value, the smart ones are investing in learning what's shaping the future, which is why I have teamed up with Outskill to bring you a 2-day live AI mastermind training, which has so far been attended by 10 million plus people.
That's great.
Training. I highly use AI stations. Start as a
2 universe is magic mirror on the wall.
Magic mirror on the wall. Who is the fairest one of all?
So we are now not in the same universe that we were in when Mirror Mirror on the Wall was a part of a film.
Well, that's what I'm theorizing, yeah.
So we're in a different universe.
Exactly. Infinite number of zeros, 1% difference.
Right.
And that 1% difference is large on our scale.
After this video, Max appeared again, this time giving a presentation where he talked about a device he had built.
Everything is just a frequency of energy. All of the energy in the universe is already here. It just needs to be transferred into a form in which you can use it. I had finished creating a device that takes wasted electromagnetic energy from all around us and converts it into electrical. Voila! Free energy.
Well, this is a sensitive topic. Free energy. I don't know if Max's device actually worked or not, but I do know one thing. After years of research for this channel, I've come across countless stories of people who claim to invent similar zero-point or free energy devices. And almost every time, they were ridiculed, silenced, or simply disappeared from the public eye. And honestly, it's not hard to see why. Just think about it. A working device like this could threaten entire industries overnight. After all this came silence. For the next 3 years, Max went completely quiet. So did his family. Nothing was posted on social media until April 22nd, 2020, when a message suddenly appeared on Max's Facebook page. "I like to build things. I want to change the world and make it a better place. I also hope to inspire." I searched all over the internet, and Max is alive. Thank God. But even so, that long silence is hard to ignore. Maybe he said something that wasn't supposed to be public. Let's take a closer look at what he actually said in that video, because it's surprisingly interesting.
Universes and infinite parallel universes constantly being created is literally flow of reality and time as we know it. So, technically, there's a universe in which God can exist, right? So, like, as your book suggests, God is everything because of E = mc squared. Literally, God is within and can be everything.
What Max was describing here sounds complex, but in simple terms, he believed reality is not fixed. Instead, new versions of the universe are created every second, branching out from every possible event or decision. It's similar to what David Deutsch, a leading quantum physicist from Oxford, has argued for decades, that quantum mechanics naturally leads to the idea of parallel universes, all existing side by side. In one universe, you're watching this video. In another, maybe you click something else. Max takes that same idea and pushes it even further, suggesting that these universes are not just possible, but constantly being born as time flows forward. In his view, each vibration, each particle movement spins off an entirely new timeline.
As every electron spins, we are infinitely catapulted into an infinite number of parallel universes. And somewhere infinity down the line, here's our universe, right? And then we're constantly shifting into alternate universes as we speak.
In other words, reality isn't a single movie playing from start to finish. It's millions of versions of the same movie, all...
We don't do commercials, we do something else. Fuck commercials. Fuck commercials. Fuck commercials.
Reality could be a projection, where every piece contains the whole and infinite variations can exist simultaneously. Max also touches on the paradox of infinity, saying that even infinity can have levels. That's actually a real concept in mathematics, known as Aleph Null, used by Georg Cantor to describe different sizes of infinity. It might sound abstract, but what Max was trying to express is that our universe might be infinite, yet still exist inside a larger infinite structure.
Imagine it like this, right? There's one line, and then a fraction closer, and a fraction smaller is the next line. And then a fraction closer and a fraction smaller is the next line, so on, so on, so on. Till eventually we get this sort of thing. It's a little bit like this. Now, that's infinity in a confined space because there's nothing here or here, because this is still there. But what happens when you add a line here? Now, that is actually still infinity, because it's still in the same place, but it's not in a confined space, you may say.
He was only 13, yet somehow describing the same mathematical paradoxes physicists and philosophers have debated for over a century.
And considering that there is an infinite number of vibrations and therefore an infinite number of realities within our dimensional space, or I guess altered dimensional space, considering that they're either higher or lower, still in the same confined space, there is an infinite number of parallel realities with an infinite number of parallel dimensions that actually can create a powerful or less powerful form of God equals MC squared as we know it.
It describes a structure where many universes exist side by side, all slightly different from ours. Each small event creates another version of reality. This idea matches the many worlds interpretation, first proposed by physicist Hugh Everett in the 1950s. According to this theory, the universe doesn't collapse into one outcome. It splits into all of them. What we call reality is just the version we happen to observe.
You see, we are moving relative to our universe, and then our universe destroyed, so now the universe started to move, or I guess our parallel universes, our multiverse started to move parallel to us because we were out of alignment and just destroyed everything. So technically, the universe didn't change, we did.
He talks about infinite versions of the universe, some nearly identical, others completely different. This view also appears in the work of Itzhak Bentov and Michael Talbot, who both suggested that everything in existence is connected through vibration and energy. If reality is built from frequencies, then consciousness could be part of the same system, not separate from it. What we perceive as one universe might just be one frequency among infinite others. Here, he links infinite universes to quantum uncertainty, the principle that measurement changes what's being observed. In quantum physics, particles exist in multiple states until an observation fixes one of them. On a larger scale, that could mean reality itself forms as it's observed. The concept is difficult, but the logic is simple. If every possible outcome happens somewhere, then small differences between realities are not mistakes. They're how existence naturally works. This leads us to Itzhak Bentov, a researcher who tried to connect consciousness and physics.
We don't see light which is beyond UV and beyond infrared. We hear only a limited scale of vibrations. All our senses are limited. So, with these limited senses, we naturally are seeing through a very narrow kind of tube or very narrow slit in the total reality there is.
Bentov explained that as the human nervous system evolves, that narrow slit of perception slowly opens, revealing more of the total reality that already exists around us. But some people experience that opening suddenly.
Well, I suggest that you find them in mental hospitals, in nut houses. And the reason for that is that these people, they live in a different reality, in a reality which is very changed. So naturally, they can't function very well. So the only safe place, only good place for them would be the mental hospital.
He said that some of the individuals we call mentally ill might simply perceive more of reality than the rest of us. Their senses have expanded faster than their minds can integrate. When that happens, society calls it schizophrenia. Bentov called it a premature step in evolution.
We can take an example. Say, the family sitting at dinner table, say there's a kid, maybe 15 years old, 16 years old. He looks up and suddenly he says to his mother, "Hey, Ma, look at there's our dead grandmother is standing in the corner." Mother looks around and says, "No." And she says, "Well, kiddo, there's something wrong with you. You need help.
You're crazy."
So you're crazy. So she takes him off to the friendly neighborhood psychiatrist. Psychiatrist says, "Oh, young fella, you're in troubles." And then he writes out a little prescription for a little Thorazine or electroshock or whatever. And pretty soon, in a matter of 2 weeks, kid is back in shape, very normal.
If you can only perform when the deadline is on fire, here are 3 things that
but we do not desire commercials.
Very good chance that the kid has a spontaneous opening of his senses.
Hey, thanks for popping in.
So that the evolution has been
you guys
rushed up or hurried up?
Yeah.
For him, these spontaneous openings were not delusions. They were glimpses into layers of existence beyond ordinary human awareness. And strangely, this connects to another thinker who explored similar ideas, not through science, but through imagination. In 1977, writer Philip K. Dick stood before an audience in Metz, France, and made a claim that sounded unbelievable, that our reality had been rewritten.
A change had been made, but not in our present, had been made in our past. A variable was changed, reprogrammed as it were, and that because of this, an alternative world branched off, became actualized instead of the prior one.
He described a kind of sideways shift in time, a lateral change, where the past itself is altered, and people continue living in the new version without realizing it.
We are living in a computer-programmed reality, and the only clue we have to it is when some variable is changed, and some alteration in our reality occurs.
At the time, no one knew what he meant. But
One day,
today,
Def will
his
quit
words
smoking, guys.
sound like an early
need some
description
backup
of
on
what people call the Mandela effect.
Let me present you with a metaphor. Let us say that there exists this very rich patron of the arts. Every day on the wall of his living room above his fireplace, his servants hang a new picture. Each day a different masterpiece, day after day, month after month. Each day the used one is removed and replaced by a different and new one. I shall call this process change along the linear axis. But now let us suppose the servants temporarily running out of new replacement pictures. What shall they do in the meantime? They can't just leave the present one hanging. Their employer has decreed that perpetual replacement, that is to say, changing the pictures, is to take place. So they neither allow the current one to remain, nor do they replace it with a new one. Instead, they do a very clever thing. When their employer is not looking, the servants cunningly alter the picture already on the wall. They paint out a tree here, they paint in a little girl there, they add this, they obliterate that. They make the same painting different, and in a sense new, but as I'm sure you can see, not new in the sense of replacing it. The employer enters his living room after dinner, seats himself facing the fireplace, and contemplates what should be, according to his expectations, a new picture. What does he see? It certainly isn't what he saw previously. But also, it isn't somehow. I seem to remember a tree, though, and there is no tree.
It's strange how this always seems to happen. Someone talks about parallel realities, about time being rewritten, about the universe not being what it seems, and then suddenly, they vanish. Some die young, some disappear completely. Others just fade from the internet as if they never existed. Maybe it's coincidence, maybe it's something else, but it makes you wonder, what if they were right all along? What if reality really does shift? And the only reason we don't notice is because we're already living in the new version.
Yeah, well that would make sense, wouldn't it, guys? Let's get on to the next video in the storage.
Hey everybody, Dr. G here. I'm a clinical and forensic psychologist as well as a body language expert, and today we're going to be analyzing the behavior and body language of Bob Lazar. Bob Lazar is a physicist who claims he worked with the U.S. government to reverse engineer alien technology. Before we get into all of these controversial claims, a couple of quick things. One, I wanted to make sure you know this is not a psychological evaluation of any kind. These are just my opinions. In addition to that, I do want to remind you to like and subscribe if you want to see more content just like this. All right, let's go. So if you're wondering why I'm analyzing what appears to be an old video rather than his Joe Rogan interview, it's because I want to go back to the source. I want to go back to older interviews, because after somebody has said something over and over and over again, it becomes easier to lie about it. So I'm going back to a 1989 interview when it's closer to when these claims were newer.
Is Bob
Hopefully that will give us a better baseline for whether or not he's telling the truth. Okay, let's just jump right in.
Witness any disk technology at Area 51?
No, there was absolutely no ET craft, ET technology, anything like that at Area 51. This is why S4 was made specifically to separate it there. People at Area 51 do not have the clearance.
All right, one of the things you're noticing already, he speaks very clearly and concisely. This is something that he also does when he was on his Joe Rogan interview. He doesn't hesitate. He doesn't have to think much about what he's talking about. He just says it clearly. That is always a good sign when it comes to somebody who's telling the truth. Now, that doesn't mean somebody can't tell the truth that's also saying ums and ahs and looking around and trying to think, but he's not showing any signs of anxiety or nervousness. That's one of the things that I'm going to be looking very, very closely for, because when people lie, particularly have big lies, particularly when they have big lies on camera, they really do struggle not to let that leak out. Let's watch this part again. Let's see if there's anything else.
Witness any disk technology at Area 51?
No, there was absolutely no ET craft, ET technology, anything.
All right, so you see him saying there was no ET technology, no craft, so on and so forth. As he shakes his head when he's talking, this is actually very consequential, because when we're feeling something deeply, our body's connected to what we're feeling. So when we say no, and we shake our head while we're saying no, it's far more likely than someone who says no and then shakes it afterward. Now, I watch a lot of trials, and it is very clear when somebody says no and then does it afterward, it's a performance, because you realize, okay, I need to show people that I don't believe this. So they shake their head no after they say it. He's doing it in sequence. It's synchronous with what he's thinking and feeling, which lends more credence to the idea that what he says is something he believes.
Anything like that at Area 51. This is why S4 was made specifically to separate it there. People at Area 51 do not have the clearance.
How long were you employed at S4, and when were you hired?
When was I hired at S4? I guess...
All right, now, When he was first asked that question, watch his mouth right here.
How long were you employed at S4, and when were you hired?
All right. You saw that lip licking. Now, there's lots of nerves in the lips. So when we're going to say something that makes us anxious, we tend to lick our lips. So that's why I'm saying when we're looking for lies, we look for things like that. That doesn't mean what he's getting ready to say is a lie. It could just mean that he feels something strongly about it. But typically that is because you are feeling strongly. Could be because the question makes him anxious. But we're going to look to see if there are patterns.
No use, then
we're not
we
going
have
to
a
make
problem
any
yet.
major conclusions based off one behavior.
When was I hired at S4? I guess early 89. And I was probably there only about 6 months or so, on a very infrequent basis.
How were you transported to and from work?
At the time that I was working there at McCarran International Airport in Las Vegas, there was a Special Projects EG&G building. When I was told to go to work, I drove there, parked my car there, and got it.
Big time,
so
big time.
One thing that he's doing right now, he's providing
love,
a lot of detail.
Big shouts out to Schmitty.
Now, it's not that liars can't provide lots of details. If you watch someone like John Wayne Gacy, he provides tons of details about things, but he's also one of the world's worst psychopaths, so it's easy for him to lie. Oftentimes
Dr.
when people
G
lie
really
about things like this,
they
don't provide this level of detail because they don't want anybody to be able to verify whether what they're saying is true.
Around the opposite end of the hangars, there's the standard entrance where you're dropped off at, go through a security check, and inside there's a small complex. There is some office space, there's several laboratories, the hangars.
Something else you're probably noticing is that his body is quite open. So when we're feeling vulnerable, we allow ourselves to leave our chest open, leave our body open. When we're feeling defensive, we tend to close all of that off. Right now, we're not seeing any shifts. We're not seeing him start to close off. Because oftentimes when someone's lying, particularly when bigger lies are going to happen, then we see them shift. Then we see them close themselves off. Or we see them leaning away from the interviewer. Things like that. We're not really seeing any changes right now.
Themselves, of course, and a few other places. I didn't have free reign to go wherever I wanted to. Everywhere I went to, I was essentially escorted. So that was really all about that I saw.
Inside the facility, what was the basic layout? Were there underground levels?
I don't think there were any underground levels to it, though there could have been.
All right, now you see his eyebrows right here. Watch this.
I don't think there were any underground levels to it, though there could have.
So he's saying, I don't think there were any underground levels, but there could have been. Raises his eyebrows. Now, when we raise our eyebrows, that means we want people to focus on our face. So as he's saying, I don't think there were any other levels to it, he wants you to hear that. He wants you to look at him while he's saying that. Now, sometimes when people lie, they stop raising their eyebrows because they actually don't want you to look at their face. They want you to look through them. They want you to look past them because they don't want to get caught in a lie. Yeah. So his body language at this point continues to be one of someone who appears to be telling the truth, interestingly enough.
I don't think there were any underground levels to it, though there could have been. I don't think it would.
So you saw his hands go up right there, and that's for emphasis. And when people lie, particularly about these kinds of details, they tend not to emphasize. They tend to respond, but to try to hide. Now, he is sitting fairly still. That's probably because of the type of interview this is. You're not going to move around like you will on a podcast. So we can't read his body language as much in that way, because sometimes when people are talking and they're moving and then they start lying, they'll become more still because our fight or flight kicks in and we want people to not see us. But right now, his body language continues to be that of someone who appears to be telling the truth.
To really surmise how long it had been operational, everything did look fairly new. By that I mean I don't think this installation was there in the early 70s. Nothing was worn. Things look fairly freshly painted. So
now, something you may have noticed is that his mouth seems to twitch some when he's talking. So it's almost like it's twitching in the direction of a smile. This would be more meaningful if it was twitching downward, like fear or surprise or shock. Those kinds of mouth movements would be more concerning because when we feel fear, when we're feeling intense fear, our mouth goes down like that. Sometimes you'll see people's faces flash like that when they're talking about something that's making them anxious. We're not seeing fear right now. The mouth twitches are not, I noticed them, but they're not incredibly material in terms of what he's saying.
This installation was there in the early 70s. Nothing was worn. Things look fairly freshly painted. So, as a ballpark guess, I would say it would really surprise me if the installation was older than 5, 7, 10 years, something like that. And the device exploded, killing both of them. The scientists that were killed there, allegedly the detonation from the explosion was fairly large. It would have rivaled a small tactical nuke. So it was done at the Nevada test.
Once again, he is providing a lot of detail about these things, and he doesn't have to stop, think, process it all. Now, it's always possible that if what he's saying was not true, that he'd come up with a very elaborate and very consistent story that he would have had to have thought about over and over and over again. But the way that he's saying this, he is stating these similarly to someone who is retrieving facts or things that they know. So it's very interesting. The way he presents is very consistent with, once again, somebody telling the truth, which is shocking to me.
Tell us about the briefing files. Under what conditions did you gain access to them?
I was put into the briefing room with 121 or 22 briefings and really was just told to sit and read through them. I think...
Now, this is interesting. I want you to watch the corner of his mouth right here.
Really was just told to sit and read through them.
See the corner of his mouth? We oftentimes associate that with contempt. So if this, in fact, is something that's true, being asked to sit and read through them seems like something that he didn't enjoy doing. That's what this would suggest. So it does seem that what he's talking about is evoking actual emotion, which is interesting. Because once again, when people lie, it's very hard to tap into real, genuine emotions. You're mainly just trying to not get caught. So the idea that you're lying so well that you're having fake memories and you're reacting to those it's not impossible, but very, very challenging to do.
Briefings, and really was just told to sit and read through them. 2 stars of a binary star system. The craft allegedly came from there. 1 or 2 autopsy photographs I saw.
Now that was the flash of fear I was talking about. And let's go back and watch this, and I'm going to explain what we're seeing and why we might be seeing it.
They came from there. 1 or 2 autopsy photographs I saw.
Sean, thanks for popping in.
See that look right there? The mouth moving down? That's what I'm referring to when I talk about fear. So when somebody's talking about autopsy photographs that they saw, this is actually an appropriate reaction. So it's surprising, once again, his body language continues to be very consistent with what he's saying. What fascinates me so much about this is that if what he's saying is not true, if it is just some sort of elaborate lie, he is probably the best liar that I have seen, or at least one of the best liars I've seen, if in fact he's not telling the truth. Really, really fascinating stuff to me.
The craft allegedly came from there. 1 or 2 autopsy photographs I saw dealt with just a small photograph, a bust shot essentially, just head.
Now, something I want to distinguish very briefly, because I do think this is important, is showing fear because you are lying versus showing fear because you're reacting to something you're remembering. Because both are important. The context is hugely consequential when it comes to interpreting this stuff. So I want you to think about it like this. Let's just say you just told a huge lie and you're feeling anxious about it. So you got to touch your face, close yourself off, make yourself feel calm again, right? Because I just lied, therefore I need to calm myself down. That's one way. Or you just said something really consequential and you're going to get in trouble, so you show a little bit of fear because you just lied. It's another to have memories of something that's distressing or strange or weird, like what he's talking about, and show some fear there. Because his fear was before what he was really about to say, or was in the midst of it. Oftentimes, if we're going to see fear from a lie, we see it afterward. So, once again, really a fascinating interview.
Dealt with just a small photograph, a bust shot, essentially, just head, shoulders, and chest of an alien with a chest was cut open in T fashion and one single organ was removed.
Never mind, that's just still Sean with
the organ itself, and the other picture was cut and vivisectioned, essentially. Showing the different chambers in there. This was totally unrelated to anything I was doing.
At this point.
Now you see him shaking his head like this. Now sometimes that can mean that you're saying no as you're talking. We do see that sometimes, but it's different typically. Usually it will be if somebody asks a question and they're saying yes and doing this, then we'll know the way they feel is actually quite the opposite of what they're saying. Oftentimes people also shake their head for emphasis. This is, at least in this context, seems to be more emphasis than disagreeing with himself.
And allegedly what happened in 79, there was some sort of information exchange going on where there were actual live aliens at the facility, and at one particular point.
Let's watch his mouth again right there.
There was some sort of information exchange going on where there were actual live aliens at the facility. And
you saw the mouth twitch again. After he said live aliens at the facility, there was the twitch of fear. And that's less common than people trying to soothe themselves after telling a lie. So once again, there was this undercurrent of fear when he's talking about this, which is
an exchange going on where there were actual live aliens at the facility.
You see that little twitch? Watch one last time. I know this is really hard to see, but I want you to watch right down here.
Information exchange going on where there were actual live aliens at the facility. And
see, think about this. If you feel extreme fear, if somebody startles you, you know, your eyes go up, your mouth goes down like that. It's like surprise and fear in the same time. So right here, what we're seeing is even though he's very plain-faced about a lot of this, there are emotions under the surface, which lends credence to what he's saying.
One particular point, there was an area where some security personnel went to enter. And apparently because of not the sidearms, but the bullets in the sidearms, from what I understand, if they would have entered the area, the bullets would have detonated. And supposedly one of the creatures tried to stop the security personnel from entering the area, and a fight ensued. And the bottom line from the altercation was that the security personnel, I don't remember how many were involved, but were all killed, and they died of head wounds, and that's all that I heard of that story.
So as he provides details, because I've worked with a lot of liars, I've worked with a lot of criminals, as he's providing details about this, the way that he's providing details, the balance of what he does know versus what he doesn't, it goes back to the idea that if he's in fact lying, he's really just he would be a remarkably good liar, because this is all very consistent with someone in terms of how they actually recall information and how they provide information when they're talking about something they've actually experienced or been through.
The security personnel, I don't remember how many were involved, but were all killed, and they died of head wounds, and that's all that. All that's above Q clearance, and Q clearance is the civilian top secret clearance.
Houston, we have a problem.
When did you see your first disc?
The first disc I saw.
Now watch his neck right here.
And Q clearance is the civilian top secret clearance.
When did you see your first disc?
He said, when did you see your first disc? You saw a big swallow after that. So that implies that this question, either that or talking about Q clearance beforehand, something is making him feel strongly about this when he's responding to this
a little
question.
Sketchy.
When did you realize the craft was not of earthly origin?
Well, it probably really hit me when I got inside the craft.
Yeah, like
and looked around,
like, what the fuck is this?
And began to understand how the craft was operated, and finally grasped the whole project as a whole.
See, the more he's talking about it, the more emphasis you see. He is someone who has subtle movements. He's not somebody who's very explosive or has a lot of energy. But when he's talking about something and then all of a sudden he starts opening up, the more he's talking about having been in a craft, the more you're seeing his hands open up, the more he's actually moving his head. So it's sort of the opposite of what we would expect, because when people are lying, the longer they lie, the more uncomfortable they get. We're seeing the opposite. The more he talks about it, the more comfortable he appears. Very interesting.
The craft was operated, and finally grasped the whole project as a whole, as what we were doing, the fact that we weren't building this thing. We were trying to find out how it was made. We were back engineering it. As far as emotionally, people have asserted that, boy, that must have been the most exciting time in your life, and that's not the way it was. When I first got to look inside the craft, all I can say, it's an ominous feeling. You walk in there and it feels as if you shouldn't be there. I know that sounds kind of corny, but it's real ominous.
It would have been creepy.
Now, his body language, once again, is consistent with what he's saying. Watch his chin.
It feels as if you should.
It feels as if you shouldn't be in there. His chin immediately went down. Now, our neck is very vulnerable. So when we're feeling defensive, sometimes our chins go down. If you watch a criminal who's talking about whether or not they committed a murder or something like that, when they're having to respond to questions like that, sometimes you see their chins tucked down, you see them block their neck. I know I refer to a lot of forensic stuff because I watch a lot of trials, but that's where you can see these behaviors. And clear as day, if you want examples of these things and you want to see it in real time, trials are a great way to do it because you can verify whether or not somebody was lying, and you can compare that with the body language. But as you see, his chin tucks down, he's blocking his neck. This is something that actually makes him feel concerned, lends more credence to what he's saying being true. And I know I've said that a number of times because I'm still shocked I'm saying it, frankly, because what he's saying is so consistent with his body language.
You walk in there and it feels as if you shouldn't be there. I know that sounds kind of corny, but it's real.
And then he moved his neck back up as he's talking about it. And that, when somebody's performing, they tend to overdo things.
What did I miss important? Chat, tell me what I missed important. You said it's really not butter. And what is it, margarine? Is it margarine?
Bruh.
Tell me, bro.
Houston, we have a problem.
Is it margarine? Tell us, bro.
Bruh.
When people have these little micro expressions or small behaviors that they don't realize they're doing, they tend to be quick or they tend to be small, which is exactly what we're seeing.
Ominous feeling. It's not an exciting feeling. It brings up a whole lot of questions in your mind. Well, where did this come from? And you know that they won't give you the answers to the whole story, but it's that's the only way I can describe it.
And this goes back to what he was saying before when he was talking about pictures that he saw, when he was talking about various experiences. I talked about that fear. This is consistent with that. This is not fun or exciting to him. There are things about this that are scary, that feel ominous, that feel dark. But what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and stop, because I think we've got enough from this interview to come to some conclusions. So let's talk about some of what we didn't see. What we didn't see were things like him flaring his nostrils to take in more oxygen. Now, that's a subtle thing that I look for during interviews like this, because when people are feeling anxious or when they're asked something and they're having to tell a really big lie, you can see them trying to subtly take in more breath because
you're just
their
pissed
heart
off
beats
because
faster,
Bob
uses up more oxygen, makes us anxious. So there's subtle things like that. He didn't do anything like that. He remained remarkably calm throughout. There were a couple of points when he seemed anxious, but it was consistent with what he was talking about. It didn't seem like pacifying behaviors, and that's what we look for when people are lying. We look for them to pacify themselves. So let's talk a bit about the conclusions I've come to. If Bob Lazar is not telling the truth as he sees it, then he is probably the best liar that I have ever seen. John Wayne Gacy, someone I referred to earlier, a famous serial killer. He was a tremendously good liar, probably the best liar of all of those types, of all the serial killers from those days.
This guy's a better liar than John Wayne Gacy.
I've done videos on him where you can still see when he's lying. Sometimes he covers it up pretty well.
So according to Dr. G,
still emotional leakage.
Bob Lazar,
is Bob Lazar somehow capable of suppressing emotions in ways that almost nobody else is? I suppose it's possible. I can't verify that what he's saying is true.
John Wayne Gacy.
And frankly, this is not something that I know much about. I don't know much about all the conspiracy claims and aliens and all of this stuff. This is an area that I explore very often, but I didn't identify any lies. There's also the alternative that I'm sure people are going to ask is the man just crazy? Is this somebody who's delusional and believes these things, but he's really out of his mind?
Bob Lazar is the real shit.
That seems like a very, very unlikely explanation for this, because I've worked with a lot of people with severe persistent mental illness.
You hate Bob Lazar,
and they don't
and
present
I wanted
like
you to be a mod of this
and they
channel.
certainly don't present like this consistently over years, over different interviews, because I have watched some other interviews that he's done, and he is remarkably consistent. So the idea that he's just mentally ill and believes all the things he's saying seems to be the least likely explanation out of all of these, actually. So shockingly, no lies were detected. That being said, if there are other Bob Lazar interviews you want me to check out, or there's other things you want me to analyze, let me know. I'm happy to watch whatever. And if people enjoy this,
let you know
I will analyze anybody that you want. If there are other people in this same area that are covering the same subject that you want me to take a look at, I'm happy to do that as well. If you have any other thoughts, please let me know in the comments below. If you have any of those ideas, I also want to hear about those. Last thing before we get finished up is I do want to remind you to like and subscribe if you want to see more content just like this. All right, thanks for watching.
Go on, show us your crack. Glassmasters Auto Glass.
All right, we'll get me a little bit more up in there.
And lifetime warranty. Our place or yours. Serving Edmonton and the surrounding areas. Get a free quote or book today at glassmastersautoglass.com.
Let's roll all around if we...
All right, that's not the next one, but we went through that one. I think that turned out beautifully. I think that was an amazing little, was surprised that he couldn't figure nothing out with Bob Lazar. Now we got another one with him. Let's check it out. Guys, Dr.
Hey
Green's
everybody, Dr.
shit.
G here. I'm a clinical and
Dr.
forensic
G.
psychologist
He's
as
the
well
G.
as a body language expert.
Bruh.
And today we're going to be analyzing the behavior and body language of U.S. Air Force veteran and UFO whistleblower Jake Barber during his News Nation interview. Before we get started,
How do I sound now, brother? Is that a little better?
Make sure you know this is not a psychological
little more
evaluation
clear?
of any kind. These are just my opinions.
I can hear
In addition to that,
clearly
I do
now.
encourage you to like and
High
subscribe
def
if you want to see
is
more
here.
content. Just like this. All right, let's
You
go.
can hear all
Something
the
I've said in other videos,
quiz
but I think is important that I make
on
clear
the
here is that I
yeah,
am
all right.
inherently a skeptic. It takes a lot of evidence for me to believe something. That doesn't mean I can't believe in the extraordinary. It doesn't mean I can't believe in things that I didn't believe before, but it does mean that I need a lot of evidence, and I need what I call converging lines of evidence. I need multiple lines of evidence
Jake Barber.
that prove that something's true. So even though I'm a skeptic, that doesn't mean I'm not open to different things. I'm not going to try to find ways to explain away things that I don't already believe. Now, I also want you to keep in mind how much I dislike people who manipulate and lie. That if I see somebody with even a chance of manipulating or lying, I'm going to point it out in great detail because I want to make sure you understand exactly how people manipulate and deceive. If that's something that I see in this video, I will point it out in great detail. And
yes, now shut up so I can hear Bob.
If I think they're trying to manipulate. All right, enough with all that. Let's just jump right in.
In the rare occasion, or let's say the hypothetical occasion, something of a non-human origin or source were to interface with the ground, you would deploy that same team.
Now, one thing I'm noticing right here, he's talking with his hand as he's talking about this. And this is actually the first time he's talked about anything of non-human origin. Previous to this, there were just a couple of minutes before this where he wasn't talking about anything of this kind of substance, but he was sitting very still. Right now, he's moving a lot more. He's more emphatic. And we tend to associate that with people that mean something, that are telling the truth.
Yeah.
Because the more you emphasize, the bigger you are.
I'm really serious about Jake Barber.
And when we start deceiving him,
might be kicking it, having a good time tonight.
Less. We don't want people to pay quite as much
I don't
attention
take this
to our
guy
body
one
language.
bit not serious.
So this actually is a sign that he really means and feels what he's saying right now.
Source were to interface with the ground, you would deploy that same team. And that is the segue and how we got involved with this particular subject.
So tell me about the moment when you realized that you were involved in a retrieval of non-human technology, alien.
So as they're starting to talk about this, I know I'm interrupting a lot because the way that this is set up, that's just the nature of it. We'll watch longer parts as we keep going. But one thing you're noticing right now, as he's talking about alien technology, you're seeing Jake Barber nod his head. Now, those subtle movements can mean a lot. It means that he really is agreeing with what's being said to him. It's something that we're not noticing, because usually when people start doing something like this, you'll notice a little bit of a smile or a smirk, because there's something called duper's delight. It's the idea that when you're manipulating or when you've got a big lie and somebody's starting to talk about it, there's excitement that comes with that. So there's this excitement that you're going to get one over on somebody. We're not seeing anything like that from Jake Barber at this point, and if it does happen later, I'll point it out.
You could tell that it was extraordinary and anomalous. It was not human. Looking at the object on the ground, you could tell that it was extraordinary and anomalous. It was not human.
So this was interesting. Watch this right here. I want you to pay attention to his eyebrows.
That it was extraordinary and anomalous. It was not human.
Okay, so you heard him say it was anomalous. It was not human. Now, he tends to keep his eyebrows up anyway, which brings attention to our face. We do that when we really want people to pay attention to what we're saying. But also it can mean surprise. And when he talked about it being anomalous and not human, you saw his eyebrows go up more, which I associate more with surprise with the way that he was doing that. So I think that as he's talking about this, he's tapping back into real emotions. And the real emotion was surprise.
How close did you get?
Well, I was a helicopter pilot, and I operate with 150
Hey, we hit 6
foot,
likes. Appreciate you guys.
Long line. So I got within 150 feet of this object.
What did you see?
I saw an egg, a white egg.
You didn't come in at the end. We're not at the end.
No,
we're in the middle.
We know there's no engine. There was no thermal signature. I was.
You notice the subtle head movements he's making as he's talking.
You're good,
about
brother.
this.
You caught
These
it.
appear involuntary. Now,
We
people
just
can
got
perform
started.
and do similar things, but there's a certain quality to the way that he's doing it, a subtleness to the way that he's
Thanks
doing
for
it.
asking,
It does
though.
seem to be that he's actually tapping into real.
Big
memory.
shouts out to
So
the main
this
mod,
continues to be
Don.
body language that is
Sean, the mod, Don.
thinking about the things he's talking
Don't.
What we would know. There's no engine. There was no thermal signature. I was operating at night when I finally came in to pick it up, so I'm working under.
This is an analysis of an interview? So he's basically looking at the interview and he's analyzing. He's one of the most famous facial expression analysis in the world.
The way that he leaned in, the way that
he's done
appearing to
everybody from Ted Bundy to Jeffrey Dahmer to
it's much
Gacy.
harder to do that with fake memories or things that aren't real. It all appeared to be very
and he calls everyone
that makes
a
us much more
liar.
visible. The more we mime things, the more we play them out when it in a way that's not performative, the more likely we are to be seen. So if we're making up a story, if we're lying, if we're being deceptive, we tend to do less of it.
He's analyzing facial expressions and body language. If you look at the end,
people that are being more honest. So the idea,
or you look at the very bottom, it's actually there on the bottom of the video. It says aliens, UAP tech, whistleblower, truth or hoax, body language analysis.
The idea that he believes exactly what he said.
Thank you for
how large was the
asking though.
I would say approximately 20
Sean, how you doing tonight? Hope you're doing better,
about
buddy.
the size of a large SUV.
Did it have any?
See, once again, reached out
Love you.
to Ross as he's saying.
Love that man.
About
right
the
there.
size of an SUV. He wants to connect with the interviewer. He is trying to say, look, you should believe what I'm saying. I'm willing to connect and be open with
This is the guy that claimed
no,
he retrieved UFOs for a living.
Pure white.
It was like pearly white, like a metallic.
Watch his face.
He
right
claimed
here.
he picked up UFOs for a living, guys.
It was like pearly.
So there was a look of confusion on his face for a second as he's trying to figure out how to describe it. There looked to be genuine confusion through his brow and through his face.
White, like a metallic, pearly white, the best I could assess.
How did you know that that egg-shaped object was non-human in origin?
Well, visually, after seeing all kinds of things in my past, it was clearly something that was ridiculously looking. It's inconsistent with anything I'd ever.
Now you'll notice he said that it was ridiculously looking, which obviously
like it
is
was
grammatically
3D
incorrect,
printed,
and that's actually an important part
but
of this.
way too large to be
when we
coming
are
out of a 3D
something
printer.
that is intensely emotional, something we feel strongly about. Things like grammar, logic, all of those can break down a little bit. It can be harder to access that because the emotion is so strong. So the fact that he's making those kinds of mistakes, the fact
grammar
that
mistakes,
he didn't say that.
Most
very
people would think
cleanly,
that makes you a liar.
Continues to lend more credence to the idea that
It
this
lends
isn't an
credence
act, it's
to
not
your
a
story.
performance. Because when
You don't
people are
speak
performing,
perfectly
they
when
tend
you're
to be
telling
on
the
point,
truth.
They've practiced it. There's a performative aspect to it, and we
What
haven't
do you
seen
think,
anything
Sean?
like
Do you
that
speak
from Bill
perfectly
Barber
when
so
you're
far.
telling the truth?
Visually,
Tell me.
after seeing
Let's hear it in chat. I want to see it.
It was clearly something that was ridiculously looking. It's inconsistent with anything I'd ever seen before. I can also tell you that the reaction by my team, we all knew we were dealing with something.
Now, this is another important point. I want you to see that Ross was getting ready to say something, but he continued to talk. I'll show why that's important in a second.
Thing I'd ever seen before. I can also tell you that the reaction by my team, we all.
So something that lends credence to the idea that he's somebody that is honest is that he's not trying to charm Ross in any way. Because when we see that, that can become a little bit
he does
more
have
concerning.
a
That
I don't
makes
give a shit kind of
somebody's
attitude.
interview a little bit more questionable.
And at no stage were you ever subsequently told that the craft was of non-human origin?
I will tell you that during this process over the last couple of years, it's been confirmed to me by ranking members of the UAP task force that what we were working with that night was in fact NHI, and it was not a unique experience.
What?
Hearing him talk reminds me of watching an expert on the stand when you watch a trial. I watch lots of trials. I've been in trials. When you hear him say this, he's very clear. He's very direct. He does not hedge
very
his bets.
concise.
He's not giving half answers. He is answering directly and clearly, which is something that's hard to get people to do at any time. So the fact that he's doing it like this makes him sound like he's not only telling the truth, but he's a professional about it. He's actually trying to handle it in as direct a way as humanly possible.
So there was another object.
Yeah, very professional.
There's two objects that I'm here to talk about.
This is interesting. Watch his face right here. There was another object. Closes his mouth, swallows, raises his eyebrows more. Talking about this is making him feel
the way
uncomfortable.
he actually
now, that
tongues
can
his
sometimes
words.
happen when people are
How
being
the hell
deceptive,
is this man
but there
lying?
are other markers we would look for as
Which
he
is
continues to
crazy
talk.
because
If
he
they're
tells
there, I
the
will let you
most
know.
amazing
But
story.
this can mean one of two things: one, that either that he's
So
going
we
to say
have
something
Sean in here,
that is
and Sean
deceptive, or
says,
two, that he's tapping into a memory.
Let's
that
make sure
makes
we
him
go to
feel
our chat,
uncomfortable.
guys.
It will.
I read everybody's chat, especially during the material storage. Sean says it kind of depends, right? Because if it's the truth, then you're going to say what happened. But then again, if it's a lie and you rehearsed it over and over, there will typically be minor changes to the story. And I do like your comment. Your comment is very intelligent. So what happens to a person when they're telling a story over the course of 30 years? They fuck it up. They miss details. They screw it up. They really do make very big, large inferences on the things that they're telling. It's like somebody trying to tell you about a storybook they read. If they read it yesterday, they're going to tell you a lot more details than they could if they read it 30 years ago. They're going to tell you little things that they read and how good the book was, and have less ways to tell you how good the book was after 30 years. What you're actually pointing out makes a lot of sense. This man has a clear amount of detail that only a witness could have. So if he has recited this, then he's going to fuck up his details in different interviews. But I'm going to tell you right now, Sean, I've watched Jake Barber repeat what he said in front of a Congress now and a court. I think, anyways. I hope I'm not wrong, but I'm pretty sure other interviews as well. He's repeated it word for word without making a single mistake. So the best time, or the best way to tell if he's lying is now, can he repeat that 3 years from now? Now me and Kevin had a big side tangent about this with Jonathan Reed. Jonathan Reed told the same story for 30 years in a row without missing a single detail. And his story is so complex that in order for somebody to do that, they would need to believe the story, and it had to have shocked them, like they seen a movie and it went to their soul in some MK Ultra project. It gets to some elaborate state.
Look different in a minute if it's deception.
There's two. And
Dr. G is
to talk about.
A real doctor. This guy legit
called an 8-gon.
He calls most people liars.
Essentially a flying disc with
most people he says are liars, but ufologists, he's shocked
I can tell
by.
you what it looked like from looking down, because that's primarily how I saw it.
So what I think this is he seems to be much more uncomfortable talking about the 8-gon than the egg. The egg didn't seem to bring him too much distress. For whatever reason, this one seems to bother him more. But as I've talked about previously, the way that he's moving, the way that he's connecting with memories, the way that he's moving his hands, the way that he is making himself seen. So I don't believe that him pursing his lips and swallowing before was preparation for deception. I think there was actually discomfort with what he's going to talk about, because his body language now seems to be very, very honest.
Because I'm a helicopter pilot. We did recoveries with the 8-gons. There was more than one that made its way to the ground on this particular operation.
You'll also notice that his head is down more, his chin is down more, and that's a more defensive posture. So there is discomfort with this, because if you leave your neck open, you're very vulnerable. And
he looks shook.
His head is positioned down
straight
further.
Up shook.
Something about this 8-gon, I think, makes him feel uncomfortable, or something about the situation related to it.
This is one of the most profound experiences I've ever had in my life. I'm about to share with you, so bear with me.
Okay, so now maybe we're seeing why there was so much feeling before. And this continues to suggest that this is something that's very real and legitimate. What kind of makes me laugh as I'm talking about this, because I keep talking about the fact he's showing signs of honesty, is if you watch the videos I do on criminals, serial killers, all the true crime stuff, I constantly have people commenting, would you just show us somebody who's telling the truth for once? Because I cover so many people that just lie, and I show you how they deceive. So it's pretty rare, actually, that I cover people that I think are telling the truth.
That he covers people?
Funny to me, because so far there's been no overt signs of deception. And the last video I did on UFOs, when I talked about Bob Lazar, I also didn't see any signs of deception there. So it kind of makes me laugh, because generally, if you watch my other videos, all I talk about.
So where is he not seeing signs of deception?
But so far,
Bob Lazar and Jake Barber. Think about what he just said.
The closer I get,
think about what he just said.
The emotion starts to overwhelm me.
He's done 50 videos of serial killers where he can tell they're lying. And he can tell you where they're lying, why they're lying, and how they're lying. But he's watching 2 UFO guys. They're not lying, in his opinion.
I feel this intense hybrid of sadness and happiness and beauty, and song. And it was.
I would love to get my own analysis from him about my own experiences. Because, yes, Dr. Green sounds like. Good comment. Sean says, I would love to sit with this guy and not talk about aliens per se, but get my own analysis from him. Yes, Dr. Green sounds like a very sound, solid doctor, like great person to do this type of analysis.
And beauty, and song.
Shout out to Dr. Green Explains on YouTube. Make sure you check him out.
But beauty and song he did. There's something about those parts of the experience that really surprised him. You're seeing a bit of shock about that.
And it was very disruptive to me because I had a very practical responsibility at the time to operate a helicopter in the mountains at night. And I began wondering what was wrong with me. It was late. I'm like, am I just stressed? Am I tired? And I don't know. But as I came over this object for the pick, there was this overwhelming sense of emotion.
Is it your feeling? Are you suddenly having a mental breakdown on the job?
No, I felt like something connected with me. I felt like something had tuned in to me and my soul and was providing me some sense of,
like the way his eyes,
guidance on
looking,
what to do and how profound what I was doing was.
That's a man telling the truth.
And it was so overwhelming that.
So as he was talking about that, after he said that sentence, you saw him lick his lips. That does suggest there's stress and anxiety associated with this.
Found what I was doing was. And it was so overwhelming that I began to cry.
Still in shock.
After he said I began to cry, watch his mouth right here. They cut off, but just watch this for a second.
And it was so overwhelming that I began to cry.
I know this is in the middle of a transition, but you can see his mouth there like that. We do that when we disapprove of something. So I think the idea of saying that he began to cry, he disapproves of that idea. Probably thinking back that he was flying a helicopter and was crying, that probably distresses him. It probably is something that he disapproves of because he doesn't like the idea of that happening. That probably made him feel out of control. But that does show a real emotion of disapproving of what he felt at the time, that he didn't particularly seem to want that right then.
My particular cues when doing this type of work, and I got the load hooked up and I began flying away. And once it was just me and that object in between the pick and the drop site, there's about 20 miles in between, I felt like something was inside of me. I felt like I was possessed by the most beautiful spirit.
I like how you asked, actually. We're not going to finish this entire thing either. Jake Barber goes on to talk about basically how he was in charge of taking care of picking up UFOs, and he went through this amazing experience where something was contacting him from the 8 and got into his head. Go watch that interview on News Nation. It's amazing. This guy's analytical analysis of it, basically says that he's telling the truth. He doesn't disagree with a single thing he's saying. Dr. Green, Sean was asking who Dr. Green is. Now, guys, Dr. Green is a man that will go and look at anybody and tell you if they're telling the truth. For years and years, he was employed in court cases, I believe, where he would analyze the victim or the assailant in the court case and tell you if that person was telling the truth. And he always had a 98% history of telling you whether or not they could. So the description on his channel says, "Welcome to Dr. Green's channel, YouTube's premier destination for crime analysis, in-depth exploration, high-profile crime cases, and comprehensive source of information of psychology. As a seasoned clinical forensic psychologist, Dr. G brings extensive experience from thousands of forensics evaluations and table of offerings, unique an educational perspective on complex physiological issues. If you're captivated by I don't even know if I can read that word, of true crime, I delve into high-profile cases, dissecting them, and psychological viewpoints, shedding light." So basically, he's a high doctrine and a seasoned clinical forensic psychologist who delves into YouTube videos, and I don't think this is a side piece for him. If we were to look into his YouTube, like 2 million plays on this video, 61K on his newest one, 1.5 million on one year ago, 3 million, 2 million, 2 million, 1.7 million. But his highest ones are like Killers and Trump. He's done one on Epstein. He's very interesting character. Sean says, I just subbed to him. I want to dive into him and his stuff. Thanks, Rudy. Yeah, he's a very interesting guy because if you're not interested in aliens and you just want to look at cool stuff where a guy is telling you the truth as much as he can possibly rip any case apart, even the Wade Wilson case, which is a Netflix documentary right now that's doing top 10 in Canada, you could check that one out. So, yeah, big shouts out to Dr. Green. I think Dr. G, sorry. I don't know if it's Green. But big shouts out to that guy because I think he definitely does a very, very thorough job at looking at who's lying and who's telling the truth. I'd like him to do a lot more people. I've made 5 suggestions to him recently. One's Dan Burrish. If he can look at Dan Burrish's clips and tell us if he's telling the truth, I'd be very interested in that. So let's get into this next one. Everything in the storage.
Canada's #1 iced tea, but there could still be some.
But we don't play anything but beats around here during that bullshit. Big shouts out. Fuck commercials. They don't work for us. We don't have monetization until we damn. We don't fuck with commercials. No. Sorry. Now, who are we getting into here?
I have a simple question for you now.
Carrie Cassidy.
George, why haven't they put poison in your salad?
Project Camelot.
Are you blessed, lucky, or do they think they've won it?
No, they think they've won.
Your information comes from Intel, right?
Yeah.
You got some.
I have CIA, MI6, I have FBI, I have foreign government. I'm getting guidance and protection from the guys upstairs.
Sure.
The second thing is the guys that are in control, they understand that there's a much bigger picture.
This is George Green, the finance guy of the big boys. He says he used to run around with leaders, presidents, and the world's most powerful people. What he reveals next may challenge what you think is possible.
Cloning techniques, since 1938, they've been making clone people. There's 8 countries making clones. All I need to do is take 2 cells off of your body, yours. We give them a small electrical charge. Now they act like a fertilized egg. If I got a fertilized egg, all I need is a receiver.
If this is true, how does he have the courage to say it publicly? And man, he goes into detail. Before I play the next clip, there's something you should know. A guy just won $1 million by creating an AI film using VO3 on Sunday, 10 a.m. to 7. People from marketing, finance, CRMs, and email training have launched interesting part when community to stay up. The well-known author said on camera that the CIA and the FBI were watching him. He claimed they destroyed his house and took all of his papers.
Is this actually going back to the same fucking guy again? Look at this. 3 times in a row. Watch, guys. Whose face are we saying? Philip K. Dick.
Into that, you disappear on it because they always got 2 people following them and they may be killed.
Something's going on with Philip.
The well-known author said on camera that the CIA and the FBI were watching him. He claimed they destroyed his house and took all of his papers. You wonder why?
You are free to believe me or to disbelieve, but please take my word on it that I am not joking. This is very serious. A breaching, a tinkering, a change had been made, but not in our present, had been made in our past. A variable was changed, reprogrammed as it were, and that because of this, an alternative world branched off, became actualized instead of the prior one.
A few years later, Philip suddenly died. Some people found the timing strange.
1928 to 1982.
Shortly before the premiere
he made
of
Blade Runner,
the film based on his work that would have brought him worldwide recognition. Maybe
which is a story about how AI robots will fucking kill us. Who knows? Bro.
This brings us back to George. I didn't find anything consistent on the internet about his current situation. A YouTube video from Aquarian Media interviewing George mentions in the description that he died in 2019, probably of natural causes. Maybe he was protected. Who knows? He says he was connected to people from the CIA, MI6, the FBI, and even foreign governments. Let's go deeper into this cloning thing because honestly, this is something I didn't expect.
Making people, meaning temporary people?
No, walking, talking ones.
Meaning through genetics?
All I need to do is take 2 cells off of your body, yours.
Uh-huh.
We give them a small electrical charge. I'll act like a fertilized egg. If I got a fertilized egg, all I need is a receiver in order to make it. So they were hypnotizing women, you know, and the fetus starts growing, right? Needs food. Well, they can use cows and sheep too. Again, a food source, that's all we need. After about 14 weeks, all of a sudden that fetus is gone because they've learned to take, that's when the fetus starts developing its own blood supply. Then they've used a pituitary hormone extract that they have, which accelerates the being that grows. And the original technology was given to our government by the Greys. Now, the reason was that our scientists were all excited because we could have spare parts. If you need a heart or a liver or anything, you won't have any rejection.
I've been saying this for years, bro.
Let's look at what is already possible. You might be surprised. Cloning is a biological process based on genetics. Every cell in the human body contains DNA. DNA carries the full genetic code of a person. This means that a single cell from skin, blood, or muscle holds the complete blueprint needed to build an entire organism. In modern science, the most known cloning method is called somatic cell nuclear transfer. This technique was used in 1996 to create Dolly the sheep, the first mammal cloned from an adult cell. The process begins by taking the nucleus from a somatic cell. The nucleus holds the DNA. Scientists then remove the nucleus from an unfertilized egg cell. The donor nucleus is inserted into that empty egg. After the transfer, the egg is stimulated with a small electrical pulse. The electrical signal triggers the egg to begin dividing, as if it had been fertilized naturally. If cell division continues successfully, the embryo starts developing. The embryo is then implanted into a surrogate mother. If the pregnancy is carried to term, the result is an animal that is genetically identical to the original.
Doesn't always work out, but sometimes it does.
This method has been used to clone several animals, including cows, pigs,
Molly,
cats, dogs, and
Molly,
monkeys.
the first one.
The technology exists. It is documented. It is published in scientific journals. However, the success rate remains low. Many embryos fail to develop. Some cloned animals are born with health problems. Others age differently due to issues related to telomerase and cellular reprogramming. When it comes to humans, the situation is different. There's no verified scientific evidence of a successfully cloned human being. Human reproductive cloning is banned or heavily restricted in most countries. International scientific organizations have expressed strong ethical concerns. The risks include high failure rates, developmental abnormalities, and serious medical complications. There's a distinction between reproductive.
Builders don't imagine a business. They build it on Base 44. You have the idea. The only thing left.
Reproductive and therapeutic cloning. Reproductive cloning aims to create a human being. Therapeutic cloning produces stem cells, which is a completely different thing. Current biotechnology allows gene editing through tools such as CRISPR. This enables targeted changes in DNA. Gene editing is different from cloning. Cloning creates a genetic copy. Gene editing modifies specific sequences within the genome. Both fields raise ethical questions. But even with all of this information, let's say George was right. He says they were cloning presidents. In my mind, I only think about the physical aspect.
All right, let's all admit, but we think they probably are cloning presidents. Skip ahead. And the funny thing is who do we have here, guys? John Lear, one of the first guys that we ever put on our podcast.
In the Haunted Mansion, you see the hologram, right? Oh, you know how to make a hologram. Well, our scientists have learned how to make people.
Well, actually, we just interviewed John Lear, and he was talking about being in an audience.
Now, John Lear
given a lecture by a
was
guy
our first
that they thought
podcast,
was real and found out later he was a hologram.
Well, it's a synthetic. A synthetics, when you touch their skin, it feels like.
You know who else is a hologram? Justin Trudeau. He's the son of Fidel Castro.
Plastic.
George is mentioning that we also are holograms. And
look
he
up
builds
the
that
2
idea
pictures of
step
those
by
people.
step. He starts from a biblical reference, from the line in the Gospel of John that says, "In the beginning was the Word." In his interpretation, the word itself points to something deeper, because before any word can exist, there must first be thought. Words are thoughts spoken aloud.
You can't measure something
they
if
are
you haven't
directing
seen it
thought
yet.
outward. When they meditate, they're attempting to receive thought. From this perspective, thought becomes the
You
primary
can study
layer
for a
of
test
reality.
after,
He
as
then
long as you
links
haven't seen the
thought to
results.
what many would call God, or to the creative force behind existence. Creation is described as something that unfolds across dimensions, manifesting at different levels. What we experience here in this physical dimension is presented as one layer of that manifestation. This layer is described as a hologram, an organized projection that feels solid and stable from the inside. Within this framework, the human body is understood as vibration structured into form. Light is vibration. Vibration is frequency. Matter appears solid because the vibrational pattern remains consistent. The body holds its shape because something organizes and stabilizes.
I'm glad you're here.
In this model, that organizing principle is the soul. He refers to the old claim that the soul weighs 22 grams and connects this idea to hydrogen as a fundamental element in the universe. In his view, the body
That
is
would
a
make sense
temporary
because the moon is mostly
projection
made
shaped
of
by thought,
hydrogen and
sustained
helium.
by vibration.
And apparently the moon is a soul catcher. Anyway, Sean wants to clone somebody to slave. You want a slave, basically. All right. We are very down to the very last one. I appreciate... No, we're not, actually. We got 3 more. Okay, let's get on to it.
Hi, I'm Dina. Welcome.
Hi, I'm Dina. We don't care. We don't care about Dina or the next commercial. We skipped that shit for real though. All right.
Alive, George. Why hadn't they put poison in your salad?
All right, we watched that one. Never mind. Sorry, guys. I don't mean to be going back. This is definitely a new one.
Everybody, and today we're checking out the horrors of Pentagon's new UFO.
Give a big shout out to Original Human. He doesn't usually do UFO stuff, but everybody these days seems to be getting into UFO stuff because it's becoming more real, guys.
UFO Files. This is by the legendary and, in my opinion, the best military journalist on YouTube, Capiami. Chris over at Capiami. I'm very excited for this one, especially because it's like
it's hot.
The 2 subjects that I genuinely love. The military and UFOs. If you know me, you know me. My audio.
You know me.
I'm sorry.
If you know me, you know me.
You know how much I love.
You know me.
I love.
You know
talking
me.
about the spooky conspiracies that Lockheed Martin are keeping crashed
Lockheed Martin.
And I've read the books.
All right, I'll
I
stop.
love all that stuff. I love it. The fact that Capiami, who I watch for my military stuff, is talking about UFOs, mate. This is going to be a good one. 33 minutes long. Sit yourself down. Fill up your chug. 10% off, link down below.
Oh, fuck off with your 10% link now. You're going to go off on your links now. Fuck off with it.
And a free bag to protect it when you take it.
See, I told you.
I'm going to keep showing it off. My incredible Hobbit tattoo of Sting is still healing. So,
bro, go get a fucking Timmy's donut. Shut the fuck up.
August 2026 release that you need to know about comes from a Special Forces live fire training event that happened over the Gulf of Oman in 2021.
Holy shit, that's where I was.
Quote, the AC-130 gunship observed 2 approximately 4-foot diameter cold orbs between 0 to 20 feet above the surface of the water, and the aircraft clocked their maneuvering speed at 1,300 miles per hour. No means of propulsion were observed. So for context, that means that these objects were moving as fast as a fighter jet, while at the same time maneuvering impossibly quick with hairpoint turns.
Okay, before we get into this, because obviously it's a long video and I don't want to pause it a bunch, I want, if you're watching this from a standpoint that you don't really know much about UFO stuff, right? Take away the stigmatism of UFO aliens. Just take that away for a moment, okay? And think about this objectively. Pilots are observing something they can't explain, and it's not our tech. That alone, just that sentence alone should be raising concerns. You can throw the other fun stuff in, interdimensional aliens that live in the sea and all this really wacky cool stuff. That's cool, right? That's fun. That's the fun side of this. The serious side of this is the fact that we don't know what this is, and so we don't know how to protect ourselves from it. It's a national security threat. That's what it is.
National security.
And so that alone, take the stigmatism away.
He's right, though.
That alone should be raising concerns.
Something was doing circles around our best weapon systems out there, because the report states the AC-130 combat systems officer then fired his 105mm cannon at the UAP, but the UAP rapidly flew away during the slight delay between when he pulled the trigger and the cannon's recoil.
Wow.
Almost as if the UAP knew that the shot was coming. But an even more shocking account from the file release comes to us from a US pilot who reported seeing a strange, massive triangle-shaped craft that blocked out the stars over Afghanistan in 2002.
Wow.
He said in the release files, quote, at approximately 4:30 a.m. local time, Redacted noticed that the stars were getting blacked out over Bagram.
Redacted.
It appeared as if something huge went
Bagram.
overhead
Wow.
from west to east and was an equilateral triangle shape. The object was moving silently, at a consistent speed and altitude, possibly 150 knots, with no lights visible. He went on to say that he estimated it was 500 feet in size, but he could not fully see the shape of the object.
Wow.
The story was corroborated by another pilot that was there with him. And for context, that's massive. It's like a 50-story building laid on its side, or a football field and a half in size. This
about that, you're right.
That's
No wonder
insane.
they waited over 2 decades to declassify that story.
Yeah.
Because it sounds totally insane. But these reports remind me of the kind of stories that me and the guys would trade when we were killing time during our deployment in Iraq.
100,000,000%. This is the type of shit that you and the boys talk about in the military. Like, we had fun talking about this stuff. Talking about our theories and all this other stuff. And the thing is, I think military lads are more open to this because you do see weird shit all the time.
Once in a while,
And
you
it's
got to
not
get
only
into a
that,
little bit of a...
You get, like, told not to do certain things all the time. And that alone
And then a
is, like,
corporal
weird.
comes up like,
There was
shut the
stuff
fuck
that
up.
I remember, like... See, this is the thing. Like, I want to say stuff, but I don't know what I'm allowed to say and what I'm not allowed to say. But I remember, like, being in certain areas in the military, and you would walk past a room, and it was like, you are not allowed to even look in that room. Do not look in that room. Now,
you're one of a million. Let's get on with this.
The best work has always come from...
As always, we don't listen to commercials, especially when we're not monetized yet on this channel. We're monetized on others, so join us there. Let's get back to it.
The sky by this UAP decided to give chase. However, they were forced to give up when they couldn't match its speed.
Wow.
Sometime during the chase, the headquarters radioed in that
Heard of
several
that
fighter
before.
aircraft on a
Way
training
too many
mission
times. Because I want to know who he's actually reviewing.
Or something weird, and I was scared to the core.
Let's see who he's reviewing, guys. And then I'll give a shout out to him, and we'll go on from there. This is the storage review. So we're basically here to review and make sure you guys have the right leads. Wow. Okay, so watch original video at the Pentagon's new UFO. Okay.
The Pentagon just released their 5th and most
So this is the Cappy Army. Make sure you guys give a big shout out to him. I just threw him a sub. And
insane batch of UFO files yet.
He doesn't usually do, again, UFO files. The last guy we looked at doesn't do UFO stuff usually. This guy does all kinds of other stuff, getting crazy, more troops in the trap, Cuba. Like he doesn't usually do UFO stuff, right? That's my point. Oh, this is going to be a fun one. Next one has a little bit to do with the Skywatcher
Over
stuff.
the next 12 months,
today.
we should be able to answer the following questions. What UFOs look like?
Big shout out to the UAP Files podcast. I love this guy.
Who pilots them and where they come from? That's the claim that was made by Jake Barber back in January 2025.
There's a real message here from you of incredible optimism about what this could represent.
Yeah, this is why I know disclosure is coming, and guess what? It's going to come out in the most beautiful way. I believe the United States government in the next 12 months is going to use me and my team as a peaceful, non-judgmental path forward to disclosure. They're going to help us conduct our operations and gather evidence in order to present this subject matter to the public so that these questions can be answered once. They're going to help come out in the most beautiful way.
About what this could represent.
Yeah, this is why I know disclosure is coming, and guess what? It's going to come out in the most beautiful way. I believe the United States government in the next 12 months.
Next 12 months. 4 days ago. What's the date today? So that would make it 2027 August. Everybody's right about 2027.
Is going to use me
into the US government. So today we're going to get into that. And spoiler alert, I tracked the Skywatcher helicopter. Skywatcher created their YouTube channel on the 18th of January 2025, just 1 week before Jake Barber's News Nation appearance, where they made bold claims of disclosure within 12 months. Their YouTube channel put out incredible cinematic videos, and it was clear they had investment. They had land, they had helicopters, and apparently credibility and credentials. Alex Klokas, a financier, tech entrepreneur, and media founder who was so involved in the leadership of the group that he personally registered the skywatcher.ai domain in his name in December 2024, just a month before Skywatcher launched their YouTube efforts and Jake Barber appeared on News Nation making big claims. But after 2 exciting parts of their supposedly multi-part series of encouraging and exciting YouTube videos and over 120,000 subscribers to their channel, they go dark. No disclosure, no explanation on the origins of the craft or recovery of a craft, as it was suggested, just rumour. And importantly, no formal explanation to any of us, people like me who had helped promote them, who was excited over what could come of them. I made videos, I wrote articles in defence of them, asking people to give them the benefit of the doubt and support them until evidence points to the lack of trust. At that point, there wasn't. We were excited, let's give them the benefit of the doubt. Then they disappeared. They ghosted us. We did have hints of what might be happening. First, from James Fowler. James Fowler posted on Twitter on the 18th of August 2025 that he had the opportunity to serve as founder and consultant to Skywatcher, where he led field operations supporting the mission of exploring UAP and advancing their domain awareness. He said, "I'm stepping away from active involvement with Skywatcher, with my contributions now limited to my foundational work. I am excited to focus on new ventures in aerial intelligence, dedicated to building innovative technology to address complex challenges in this field." He said, "I remain proud of my foundational contributions at Skywatcher and wish the team continued success
Amy
in the
Eskridge
future endeavors."
founder.
And he's copied in Skywatcher HQ, Jake Barber, and Professor Gary Nolan. And Skywatcher's official X account reposted this message saying, "The Skywatcher team is excited to congratulate James Fowler on his new venture contracting with the US government, and we sincerely thank him for his contributions to Skywatcher. He has played a key role in all of our field operations and in the data we have collected to date." So you probably agree there is a suggestion there, a hint at least, that at least part of the Skywatcher team has been incorporated into the US government, a special access program potentially. This gets very interesting, and I'll get into this a little bit later. Let's move on. So what came of the psionics that worked on the Skywatcher team? Potentially, if James Fowler has taken his dog whistle, the electronic summoning device, off to the US government, what about the remainder of the Skywatcher guys, the psionic assets? Well, I sat down with one of them, John, who told me what he thought had happened to Skywatcher.
Happen. Not necessarily. I hope that can happen, but it is easier the smaller the group, in my opinion.
Do you know much about what's happening with the Skywatcher guys now? Because I know that we got a lot from them maybe like 6 months back and just prior to that, but it seemed to have petered off and we've not really heard much from them in the...
I don't mean to disrespect the clip, but we are going to, like, material storage. We continue on to see what they're talking about. This is the guy that's saying that he's a asset, so we're gonna clip through it.
Last 6
Kind of
months.
like
I don't know
you
if you still
read through a
connected to those
paragraph.
guys or if you're going to be doing more with them. Are we going to see more from them?
I hope so. I think Mike is starting to kind of go through his own endeavor, entrepreneurial ways of using psionics to show more people, but also it seems to be somewhat of a professional route, which was interesting. Jordan Jozak's doing his own thing. Shout out Jordan, where I think he's having events that people can go to and take part.
What if I was the psionic
You know,
asset?
it's not cheap to put on an event, so I imagine there's a ticket price. But and then myself, I'm just freestyling it, where I'm calling out to the sky and filming what comes in and trying to kind of build socials maybe. And J2 is interesting. He's not very out there on the social media
I
platforms.
don't believe this
but
guy.
when
I
he
think
is,
he's a
it's
clout
kind of
chaser.
profound what he says.
So I'm gonna skip on.
Looking for a better way to mop? Try the new Swiffer Power.
We don't do commercials around here until we get paid around here. Saying. So I'll mute that. Then we're gonna continue on. Eve is not a bad game, but you know what? It's not worth my life.
Corner of the universe. Anything, right? It was.
Yeah. Now, regardless of what you think of Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick, and honestly, I take everything he says with a pinch of salt. I'm not naive, but he is probably the only current or
Heard about that? Yep. We've talked to them.
I hate this guy.
Absolutely.
So, UAP Gerb called this guy a goof on live television.
Yeah. Now, regardless of what you think of Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick, and honestly, I take everything he says with a pinch of salt. I'm not naive, but he is probably the only current or former Pentagon official who has made any public comment about Skywatcher. He claims that he met with them. They gave no data, no photographs, and no videos. Now, I know a lot of people
also
are going to
claims
stop
that
me
he
there and
didn't
say,
see
hang on a
certain
minute, we've all
people that he
seen
did see.
the data that they've put out there. They put it out there on their YouTube channel. It's been on X. But that's not what Sean was saying. Sean was saying that they didn't bring any data with them. And I don't think the Pentagon's going to accept a link to a YouTube video. Yeah. Now,
We've talked to them. Absolutely. I found absolutely nothing credible about it.
Okay. That sort of stuff. Have you had any contact with those guys? Or?
I've heard about that.
Interestingly, not only had he heard of them, he had met them. Are you aware of Skywatcher, Jake Barber, and those guys that say that they've got data and they're able to summon and they've got a dog whistle and all that sort of stuff? Have you had any contact with those guys? Or?
I've heard about that. Yep. We've talked to them. Absolutely. I found absolutely nothing credible about it.
Okay. Access program, and comments made by Eric Burleson recently on the Annie Frey show have kind of fueled that.
Briefed on an event that occurred where they basically tried to set up a perfect case scenario where that would cause UAP to come in, and then to capture them or to try to try to document them or record them, and it was very successful. So this is when this only happened a few months ago. And this is when the whole conversation changed.
This is the
problem. The rumors are that some of these testing and weird behaviors and US government testing has taken place somewhere near El Paso and White Sands. Remember the February 2026 El Paso airspace shutdown? Rumored to be an active UAP shootdown attempt. The official explanation subsequently became that a Mexican drug cartel drone had crossed into US airspace and that the threat had been neutralized. Transportation Secretary.
Transportation Secretary. Our border agents dropped illegal drugs on the U.S. side of the border, so the DOD recently acquired laser weapons. But this is the case. All right. This is where I go, I don't want to hear about it if it's about drugs.
And giving us something because they made promises.
Not my lane.
To us. They took us on board and we supported.
Which I'm sure a lot of this human trafficking, drug trafficking thing is attached to the UFO stuff. But I'm more interested in the technology, guys. I'm more interested in people from another time travelers, things living in the ocean, things from another planet, that kind of thing. Anyways, let's go on to the next one, which I think is the last one.
When we knew we were having our son, we were like, what do we use that's going to keep him safe?
I recommend Tide.
First of all, keep him away from that Tide, Because that tide will get his skin all itchy and gross. You just need to give that kid a good bath and motherfucking keep all that scent away from him.
Language in just a few で動画をどんな言語にも丸ごと翻訳する
And we don't need to fuck with you.
The world is extremely mysterious and strange. From unbelievable UFO sightings to unexplained phenomena, everything here will intrigue you and make you
Big shouts out to you, R. Grace, another good channel.
Question reality. After every piece of footage, another one will be even more unbelievable and make you scratch your head. And there's footage hidden between these that just breaks the rules, even for UFO sightings. So watch till the end. Before we start, if you enjoy this UFO compilation,
Few anomalies before
there was
we
a
end.
very mysterious cloud, and inside it, an extremely bright light. Far brighter and far closer than the moon, glowing from within the cloud and lighting up a huge part of the atmosphere. Below it, we can see what's probably the actual moon, looking small by comparison. Some people believe what we're seeing is a huge plasmoid phenomenon, while others call it simply a glowing UFO. Whatever it is, it's...
Oh. Not a UFO. Sorry.
Crashing UAP.
Not a UFO. Sorry.
Unsolved.
UFOs don't show
In
any smoke
2025.
trail. UFO. If it's a real video, shows no apparent ways of being able to fly. Should not be able to fly, but could be a balloon. It's not showing unobservable. Interesting video. That's all I'll say about that one. Light
The first thing
anomaly.
these two noticed was
Unless you're there, you can't really vouch for it. And if you're there and you see something like that and you record it, you know what you went through, but nobody else does.
looked like an alien head at ground level. Then,
not even into
near the
it.
ocean. And I found
Now
an
this
enhanced
one looks like could be Billy Myers related.
recording of a UFO saucer near the ocean. And I found an enhanced version of it.
Which I think the Billy Myers, some of them are real. Not all of them, but some of them. Look at it. Look at the way it's changing its form right in the bottom. That's trippy as fuck, actually. That's real. It's going from Omicron to Alpha to Omega, like how Bob Lazar would explain. Now, if it shoots off, it should turn sideways and shoot off. It's not going to shoot off horizontally like most people would think. And if it's going to go to a different time, it'll turn into a plasma ball where it's going to literally go to a different time.
This footage.
Interesting. It's why do they, you know, one of the things I'll say about UFO videos is why can't we see the beginning and end? Where did it go? Where did it come from? Looks like something I seen with my girlfriend back in the day. It's a lot bigger.
Showing a triangular object emerging.
These are
through
interesting.
smoke.
Lately, I've seen
Never
clouds.
seen something like this. What is this? What is this?
I don't know, bro, but that's definitely something else. 1975. Let's just for fun. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Very interesting.
Normal
New Dove UV Repair and Glow Collect.
Alright, we'll get on to the next one, and we're very close to the end of our night, guys. I appreciate everybody who popped in. Looks like we did some numbers tonight. Love you guys very much. You know, this is a new channel, so I appreciate it all. Looks kind of real again. Ooh, turn sideways. Okay. That is interesting.
What do you think we just witnessed here?
Flying
Up
box.
next, in 2023,
Could be a
the
flying
Pyramid
box,
of Giza
just saying.
delivered a
I'm a
UFO
skeptic
sighting
as much
that
as I
no
believe
one
in
could
UFOs.
ignore. Captured by a tourist who spotted something hovering above the pyramid, completely unexpected.
Unless I see it doing one of the 5 observables. It's gotta move it. It's gotta do something. You can't just have shit floating in the sky. Not in this day and age. It's just floating in the sky, guys.
Está sucediendo directamente encima de las pirámides ahora mismo, como si supiera exactamente lo que está haciendo.
The object resembles a large mantis or
Doesn't
butterfly.
matter. Where did it go and where did it come from? Why didn't you show it enter and why didn't you show it leave? This is why I go, I don't care what your
If
video
you enjoyed
is.
it, please hit like.
Guys,
And
you want to film a video of a UFO? Film it come or film it leave. I could understand if you don't film it come, but film it leave. I would not take my camera away until it left. And I would be holding the camera when it showed up if I was just filming something and film it from beginning to end. So then you get both. Make this make sense. This has been the material storage. I love you guys. Big shouts out. And I'll see you on the next one. Peace out.